Good morning, everybody. Hope the entrepreneurial spirit is up and running and looking forward to getting the right marketing strategy with Facebook. I know how important Facebook marketing is, so we thought, we'll invite one of the best in the business, Irosha de Silva. He comes from a strong tech background as well as a strong digital strategy consultation business. As we move in this digital era, Irosha aspires to find new ways and how technology can help people and take the right route. Irosha de Silva, your digital guru from CreativeHub. Before I hand over controls to Irosha, I want to make a small request from everyone in the session. Please keep your mics and videos off so that the bandwidth and your noises doesn't interrupt everyone in the session. And if you have questions, I know you will have many questions. So please put them into the chat so that at the end of the session, we can let Irosha take one by one and not disturb the flow of his presentation as well. So with that said, Irosha, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Achinta. Very good morning, everyone. It's great to be part of this session, like with Edulink, and thanks a lot, Achinta and Gayatrika, for this opportunity as well. For us, as Achinta mentioned, the world is day by day it's going digital. So we need to ensure that whatever the businesses that we are in, we adopt the right digital marketing strategies in terms of how we are going to leverage it, in terms of for us to drive it towards our growth, right? Because the long gone the days that that you can just do business using the traditional ways and means of doing business. A good example that I always bring into most of our clients is that you know what happened to Titanic, right? So Titanic thought that they are so big and nothing can beat it. But what happened to it was since it did not really adapt into into the particular conditions and whatnot, it just sank down, right? So that's mostly the situation that most of the businesses, especially in Sri Lanka, are facing now as well, right? That is, they think that with the size of their businesses that they are so big, and then they don't need to really adopt any of the digital marketing strategies and digital strategies with this day and era where the world is heading towards digital era, right? So what will happen to those businesses eventually is that is what happened to Titanic. So we need to ensure that how we are going to adopt these right digital strategies in terms of leveraging this new way of digital era that has come up, right? So just to give you a small intro about CreativeHub, who we are is we are a total end-to-end digital strategy consultant. That is what we provide is a holistic digital 360 digital strategy solution, right? That is starting from the company where we look at the company's branding from a conceptualization standpoint, and then where we translate that into simplistic and elegant international standard website, and then e-commerce solutions, mobile applications, and then since we have our own ERP system as well, we are able to plug that in, right? But that's simply our tech side of things, right? So just as our the tech side of it, and the software arm is there, we have the data-driven digital marketing arm that couples with this tech solutions, and we ensure that we drive it towards the actual results that the businesses need. So for an example, say that we get your e-commerce platform done. So it's not just a matter of just having the e-commerce platform up and running, but you also need to ensure that this e-commerce platform leverages you with results, the expected results that are needed. So that's basically our approach, and we couple things with like like augmented reality, virtual reality, and things like that. Uh, if I can request everyone to switch off the mics, then we will. Thank you. Right. So, I mean, driving the traffic in and then basically getting into conversions, right? So, in terms of, as I mentioned, like, our approach is a holistic approach, right? So, and like, in terms of the particular solutions that we have done specifically towards data-driven digital marketing, right? So, we have work with brands like Exclusive Lines, who are the largest perfume importer to the country, right? So then, like, in terms of what we do is we like, in terms of the e-commerce platform, we create engaging content that is using Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, and we drive the traffic in, and we ensure that the the e-commerce conversions are coming in, right? So in terms of like, another client that's called Third Space Global, who is into teaching like, students in the UK using like, tutors that's in Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and places like that, right? So I mean, them also, what we do is we help them to recruit the tutors using creating engaging content and driving traffic in, and basically getting things into conversions, right? So I'll get into more of case studies. So before that, I would tell in terms of um, why and how this digital marketing is needed, right? So back in the days when I started, like, I've started so many startups, like, even before CreativeHub, right? So the first thing that I always do is, first of all, creating just a Facebook page, right? Because the thing is, whatever you might be having a lot of ideas in your head, you must be thinking that this is the best idea, like, that you can ever have, right? But you need to actually put it out there to the market to actually see whether this idea is a viable idea, whether this would actually work, right? So that understanding is actually needed. So so for you to do that, like, Facebook or now Instagram is also there. So I mean, those two are very good platforms for you to look at how the market is responding towards whatever the idea, the product, or the service that you're offering, right? So in terms of how that is being done, so I mean, I'm sure, can I have some feedback? Is there anyone who is already running a business over here? So I assume everyone's just thinking about, like, maybe starting a business. So then basically, like, what you're supposed to do is, okay, so Buddhi says yes, there's a real estate business as well. So Mariam, are you using already Facebook marketing towards like, maybe generating leads towards your real estate business? Right. So so then, like, now in terms of how we are going to utilize a proper strategy in terms of Facebook, right? So first thing is, like, for someone who's just starting up, it would be to just, like, start up a page, right? So starting a page, I mean, a lot of people, what they are doing is they are just creating a page and then just posting content. But rather than just creating content and just posting them up, you need to have an actual strategy behind it, right? So you need to look at, like, what is the strategy that you are having in terms of, like, in terms of with the final objective of driving getting the expected results that you need, right? So that could be, like, if you are having a e-commerce operation, that could be in terms of e-commerce conversions, right? But if you are having, say, a service-based business, then that could be in terms of lead generation, right? Now, say for real estate, it is in terms of lead generation, right? So you need to look at how what sort of a complete digital strategy that you have, because just because, like, you create a page and you put up content, your particular objective is not straight away going to come in, right? but rather you need to have a holistic strategy. That's what we call as a digital strategy. And at the same time, you need to have what is called as a content strategy, right? So the content strategy is basically how you are going to create content and then post when you're posting whatever the content. So now it is very much known that the video based content performs much better compared to just design based content, right? So that's sort of an approach you need to have that, right? So I mean, if we take things in a practical sense, right? Now say for an example, now most of the businesses they just create the page and then simply manage it using the using the page manager only, right? But you need to look at how you're going to leverage the business manager, right? So business manager is, it would allow you to manage multiple pages, right? And then through those multiple pages, and then how you're going to manage the ads, how you're going to manage the particular events that's there. Events in the sense, the particular, say someone when they come from Facebook, and how they, after they visit the website, and based on those interactions, how you are going to capture those interactions, and give them with different ads to for you to get into that particular target that you want to achieve, right? So we'll start from very beginning in terms of how you're going to be creating a page, right? So I mean, I'm sure you all must be knowing in terms of just you are able to go to Facebook's pages and then just create a page, right? So I mean, that's simply the start, right? And then after you start it up, you are able to, of course, there's so many pages that I've created over time. So we'll just create one. This is something that we created some time back for something called the business breakfast, right? It's sort of like a business networking event, right? That we were doing on a sort of monthly basis, right? And we used to invite different business owners, right? And then pass on business among those different business owners. So here, if I take this as an example, since this is not exactly a page that's being used now, right? So you are able to manage the page directly from the Facebook, simply your personal facebook.com itself, right? But the proper way of managing the in terms of the ads, and then the particular what your ad strategies are, and what your conversion strategies, how you are going to set up goals, all those things is using the business manager, right? But if I'm to take you through the ad center, so this is the place where you are able to set up your create the ads, and then set up particular ads. So then this is for the ad center is basically for someone who is who don't want to go into much of a in-depth in-depth advanced settings and all, but rather wants to just boost a post, right? So there's a big difference in terms of just boosting a post and running a Facebook ad, right? So we need to understand those two differences. So from the ad center, in a simpler way, you are able to set up. Is it in terms of getting more website visitors? Is it in terms of getting more bookings, or simply boosting a post, or boosting an Instagram post, or getting more messages, getting more calls, right? But these simple things in a simple way, you are able to do from the ad center, right? So after I explain this, then we'll go into the business manager. So from here, you are able to just select a particular post and then just boost it from here, right? So then that could be in terms of where you are setting up your audience, and then what the duration that this ad would run into. And then also you are able to set up what the pixel is, right? So Facebook's pixel is basically used to connect your website with your with Facebook, right? Because you must have to give the simplest example, you must have seen directly when you go into a particular site, the next moment you go into Messenger, you see an ad coming from that particular site, right? So those are like, that is called remarketing, right? So that remarketing, that how Facebook how has understood that this particular user has gone into that particular site is using the Facebook pixel. So when you connect to the Facebook pixel only, you are able to get that seamless connection between the website and the Facebook page as well. Because why it's important that being connected is, now say your now for an example, like, we are running this ad, right? So then where it says we are still here, but we are restructuring the format to get better and blah blah blah. So then, like, now I want to, like, now a user would be seeing it, right? But here the call to action what we have given is send message, right? But rather we want to make it more precise, like, maybe we want to give more information about business breakfast, right? Then, like, get them into the website. So so always it's better to have a call to action in terms of how you are going to, like, whatever the ad strategy that, like, you are using, right? So here, so with Facebook pixel, you are able to understand that this particular user has gone to the site, and directly you are able to, using a remarketing strategy, you are able to send out a message, like, an ad in the messenger, like, whatever the place, right? So coming back to boosting, so boosting is a simpler way of just, like, running an ad. You are able to be somewhat specific by setting who your audience is, right? But you can't go into an extent of setting up, like, what the placements would be, right? So what I mean by placements is, like, when in Facebook and Instagram, right, there are multiple places that the ads are being visible, right? So I mean, one place is, like, the most common place would be either in Facebook's newsfeed or Instagram's newsfeed, right? Then the other places could be in Facebook stories and then Instagram stories. Likewise, and then Messenger. Likewise, there are multiple places that the ads can be visible at, right? So so it is important that we identify, like, I mean, not all the ad placements would serve us, like, good with the particular result that we want to achieve, right? So so it's important that we, like, we go into the extent, the minute nitty-gritties of like, of advertising when we are, like, basically spending on Facebook, right? So boosting, what it would do is, it would simply, like, into a particular larger audience that you're targeting, directly, like, to send message or drive website traffic, or, like, to get calls in a like, in a very general way, it would send across, right? So from here you are able to directly boost it. I'm sure most of you all must have, like, already done that. Then the next thing is, like, is in terms of managing the page, like, using the, like, running the ads using the business manager, the ads manager, right? So that how you do it. So you need to go into business.facebook.com. Then you are able to see, like, what are the different business accounts that you have. I mean, then this particular business breakfast page that they are, it has to be binded into a particular business account, right? So from that business account only, you manage whatever the say ads that are running, and, like, different pixel codes that are there, and different event triggers, right? That is, like, when someone goes into the website, what would be that should be shown, right? When someone, say, goes into a particular page, what should be that and that should be shown. So likewise, you need to, like, perfectly understand the I mean, that's called the conversion funnel, right? So I mean, initially you would be having a lot of people, like, who would be like, just being aware about your brand. Then there would be some people who will be engaging with your brand, and then there would be some people, like, who are interested about your brand, right? So likewise, different, and finally only, like, directly this conversion would come in, right? So now if I'm to show you how the ads manager would work. So from here, you are able to, from business.facebook.com, then you create the business account, and then in the business account you need to also have an ad account created, right? So now here I have created one called the test ad account, right? So from here you go into create new campaign. So here what you're creating is as campaign. So whatever the ads that you're running with, you're not like, like what we did in the ad center, you're not just blindly boosting some posts, right? But rather in the ads manager, what you do is you have a specific objective. Now here, as you can see, you can initially directly set what the campaign objective that you have, right? So maybe your campaign objective could be for brand awareness, right? That is like, show your ads to people who are most likely to just remember them, right? It could be for reach. That is showing your, like, reach ads is like in a very bombarded way. You're placing the ad into a lot of people, right? So that's ideal for, say, say general, like, brands, as maybe F&B brands, something like that, where you can directly, like, FMCG brands, it would be ideal, right? So where it is a need for everyone. So then directly, like, that's where when you run reach ad, right? And then it could be for traffic. So traffic is basically where you run that with for the user to, like, drive the traffic in specifically to a website, right? To a specific destination, that is, right? And then towards engagement, for them to, like, maybe to get more page likes, maybe to get event responses or post reacts or comments, or whatever the engagement that you want the user to do, right? And then maybe for app installs, right? Maybe for video views, maybe for lead generations. So if you look at lead generation, right? So lead generation is very much needed for service oriented businesses, right? So then now Marianne's real estate, like, business that she was running, so, like, for her to generate leads for a particular, say, like a listing that is there, right? So towards that, she could be running a lead generation campaign where she can, like, get the leads of the people who are interested about that particular listing, right? And then maybe for messages, right? Directly, like, for you to get messages. And then conversion. I mean, this is uh, where I am mostly interested in, right? Because we need to really look at how whatever these campaigns, these ad strategies, ad campaigns, whatever thing that we are running, they drive into conversions, right? So then what would be our conversion strategy? So then, like, that is in terms of running conversion. So then this is basically running into valuable actions, making a purchase, say, like, I mean, the objective of running a conversion ad is directly driving a user to make an e-commerce purchase, right? So then maybe for catalog sales or store traffic. So likewise, you are able to, first of all, set the objective that you have, right? So, I mean, let's say, like, we are simply running a campaign for to generate traffic to our website. So that's the objective that we have. Then we go into continue. Then here you are able to set, like, what the campaign is. Now, say, maybe now we are running this for business breakfast. So I want to drive traffic into businessbreakfast.lk to for me to, like, make people aware about our structure of this business networking program that we have, right? So then I'll just mention it as, say, website traffic. And whether it's a special ad category, that's not really relevant. That's for social issues, elections, and politics, right? And, like, whether then if budget optimizations that's needed, and then we press next. And then now, as you can see here, we are able to like, run the ad in a much more thoughtful manner than what you did at the ad center directly from facebook.com, right? So here you are able to, like, be specific about whether it's where you want the traffic to drive in, whether it's for the website and app, messenger, or WhatsApp, whether it's, like, it needs to show dynamic content, whether there is an offer, right? And what the budget would be, what would be the daily budget, and then how the schedule would be, and what would the audience be, right? So here you are able to actually create custom audiences or else lookalike audiences, right? So what is meant by lookalike audiences is, so that is ideal when you already have a data source, right? So that is like, it could be, so you have identified already a particular data source that works for the kind of business that you are in, right? So then Facebook, when you feed in those particular data to Facebook, it would be able to, like, run the ads, like identifying people who are like that. Because of that, the conversions become much higher, right? So that is possible. And then of course, like, whether it needs to be automatic placements or manual placements, right? So if you go to manual placements, you are able to be very, very specific about where these particular ads would show, right? So it could be like, say in feeds. So whether you want this particular ad to run in all the feeds, right? Or else you want only to run, like, say, like, Facebook Marketplace, you don't want this to run. Video feeds, you don't really need that to run. Right column also. So mainly you want to run in Facebook newsfeed and Instagram newsfeed. So then you are able to like, take off in the other sections, right? So this is like, so you need to select, like, these particular placements by always and always asking the question, what would your ideal customer or ideal potential customer would be doing, right? So if you are targeting for say CEOs of different companies, are they really, like, going into say like Instagram's explore, right? But rather, are they specific, like, in terms of what they are going to be doing just in Instagram and then getting out of it, right? So I mean, you need to of course have a very good understanding in terms of whom you are targeting as well, right? So now, based on that only, like, you're setting these things up, right? And then you're, whether it needs to run in search, whether it needs to run in messages, whether in article things need to run, and then whether apps and sites it needs to run in. So likewise, you are able to be specific in terms of where your ad is being placed, right? So a few other things that should be noted regarding targeting, right? So when it comes to targeting, you need to, like, be really, really specific in terms of targeting to the right audience, right? Because so this is by always asking the question. I mean, if you were the potential customer of the product or the service that you are offering, what, like, whether this particular ad would entice you, right? So then, like, what would, so you need to be really specific and like identifying the particular audiences, right? But say for an example, if you say FMCG brand, then of course you can have a very broader audience, right? So again, you need to do things like, say, A/B testing to identify which audience works for you, right? Now we say this particular ad, I mean, I know that this is for I'm running this ad for me to get more business owners coming in to my business networking event. So that's the objective that I have, and then I'm running a website traffic ad here. Why? Because, so we always need to ask this question, why are we doing this, right? So why are we doing it is because I want people to be like, my website, I have done it in a good way. And then in the website, I have, like, elaborated how, like, this particular networking event is taking place, and then what the benefits that it would bring in and what not, right? So because of that, yes, in the site also, like, there is a register section, but my objective here is to, like, just to drive the traffic in. So not exactly conversion strategy. So I would be running a conversion at maybe towards the closer towards the event, right? But right now I want to, like, just to educate and keep of my target, a specific target audience. So that now, if I want to target the business owners, right, and then the decision makers of companies, right? So I mean, 18 to 65 is too much of a broader target, right? And then I know that to my event, obviously from all across the Sri Lanka, they would not be coming in. So because I'm having it in Colombo, so I would set it as Colombo, Western province. And then my target audience, the age range, of course, 18 to 25, 65 plus, that is too much. I mean, I am targeting more of the matured business owners. So then I would say roughly from about 30 to 32, I would set it up till about 60, about 60, right? 60 years old. And then what the, if you want to go into detailed targeting, because in this case, of course, I think it's important that we go into detailed targeting. Why? In Colombo, just age 30 to 60 is not enough, right? To is not specific enough for me to get proper business owners to my this business networking event that I'm having, right? So then I would go into detailed targeting, and I would go into browse, and then I would look at what would the demographics be, right? So then maybe I can set not educational, like maybe work, right? So in the work wise, maybe I can look at job titles. So in the job titles, I can say CEOs, search for job titles. So whether it's board of directors, so these are interest in the demographic wise, what would the job titles be, and then what the industries be, right? So from what industries am I targeting, right? And then what the am I targeting on particular interests, right? So then likewise I am able to select the particular ones. And so I would say I want to get in people who are interested in technology, and maybe demographic wise, I want to get people of industries in business and finance, right? So then these particular specific, when we select the specific audiences, it would show me what would the potential reach be, right? So I mean, because Sri Lanka's audience is not too broad, right? Since there's not a lot of people, it's not a very good idea to be too specific in terms of your targeting as well. But you need to look at from a general point of view, what would the target audiences be, right? So then in this way, you set up this thing, you set the placement right as well, and then you run that. So that should be the direction that we should be looking at in terms of creating and then running an ad. So then we would look at in terms of how. So then now we understand how the ad creation can be done, and then how we need to be specific in terms of targeting the right audiences, right? Then the next thing is how we are going to create content that is appealing to the particular users, right? So to the particular audiences that you are targeting. So that is to do with your content strategy. So the content strategy, how it needs to happen is, so you need to look at so you need to look at how so say the month of March is there. For month of March, what are the content that you are going to post? So as I mentioned before as well, the videos videos would be the ideal way of engaging more and more, right? But apart from just videos or animations and all, we use things like say virtual reality and augmented reality as well to get better engagement with customers, right? So then the kinds of things that we use are we have this thing called the 3D virtual walkthrough tour, right? So then we use things like this to create that wow factor. So let me show you that. So we have this 3D virtual walkthrough tour. So then what we do is where we have this 3D camera and we get spaces in 3D, and like we put it up in a like a web ready format where people can like basically walk through say different office spaces or say factories or showrooms or whatever the spaces, right? So like we create like this is like basically it's there on the website, right? So I mean these sort of something that would have the wow factor, it would allow to get for you to get more engagements, right? Now what I will show is like now these one of the things that would create a wow factor about CreativeHub, right? So now I have an objective to educate more and more potential customers, maybe in the real estate segment, maybe like in who are owners of showrooms, right? To sell a solution like this, right? Because like we have like done this for places like say the Kingsbury, and then like Mitsubishi, like that's the showrooms, right? So since we've done like this, so I have an objective now. Say us as as Creative Hub, we have an objective to like to get through to reach out with this solution to more and more people, right? So then like what we are doing is we are creating an ad with this like with this link also in which has the wow factor as well, and then we would be running that ad. So then like how that would work is, so now I can show Creative Hub. I'll explain about this tool as well. There is a tool called Facebook Ads Library. So now we have done, and we have, so these are like some of the ongoing ads at Creative Hub. We are welcome to the new generation of immersive virtual technology with advanced 3D mapping and blah blah blah. Be there before you go there, right? So now these days what we are running is a page likes campaign basically. So likewise you are able to like get more get that wow factor of the users when you use like something like this, right? So like towards augmented reality, I mean, this is another solution that we have where we like we help the products to be visualized in 3D in the browser itself, and then place it using augmented reality at say your living room or whatnot. And then like these sort of solutions would increase the e-commerce conversion rates like rapidly, right? So the other things is like you're able to use humor, right? And then like get engaging content. Hey Google. So this is another one. How do I improve my digital strategy? Try contacting CreativeHub. So I mean, hey Google. It's just how do I improve my digital strategy? It's like something of humor, like hey Google, how do I improve my digital strategy? Straight away CreativeHub would come up, right? So then I mean that's not what it would come up, but it would create that humor, and like these sorts of content, it would help you to like to get more engagement from like from the particular target audiences that you all are having, right? So another thing that I want to educate you all on is basically organic versus paid likes, right? So that is like say when you go into a particular page, you would be having like so you would be having the organic likes, and then you would be having the paid likes, right? So that is like so the likes that you all are likes that we can see, like so some likes that are there, it could be coming from like directly the people who know about a particular brand, right? So who would visit the page and then directly like a particular page, right? So at the same time you are able to run likes campaigns like this. You are able to run that. As I showed you before with CreativeHub, you are able to run like like page like campaigns like this to like in a paid way to get more likes into your page, right? So then these are the like two methods like that you are able to generate likes into your page, right? But the thing is, like, I mean, of course, the organic likes are good, right? That means like the people, some person is genuinely interested about the particular brand or the product or whatnot, and they would go there and then they would like, right? But then paid likes, like, it could be directly or just posting that, and then someone sees it, and then if they're interested, they would press the like button. And some things that you should be aware on, like, there are some cases that Facebook has been identified of where they are using, like, things like farms and things like that, where directly, like, where you are getting bogus likes, right? So I mean, the pages are fake, and, like, when you go into, even though the like numbers have been increased, the profiles are not exactly actual profiles, right? So these are things, some particular things that, like, you should be aware on. But of course, it's good to see a good number on your page, right? But at the same time, it's better that you have the particular audience that's there as your like base, as, like, who's genuinely interested about your brand, like, the product, company, or the service, right? So like, and at the same time, I'll say, when you put up a post on Facebook, organically, like, now the reach that it would go in the news feed is, like, is quite less, right? Unless, like, if the post is, like, quite engaging, right? So because Facebook is more and more and more pushing towards, like, paid advertisements, right? So these are the few things that should be looked at, like, when you are thinking about organic versus paid, right? But of course, you are able to create organic engagements if, like, your the content that you are creating is quite engaging, is unique, right? And is, like, shared and is going viral and whatnot. So of course, you can use a mix of organic and a paid reach in terms of getting the traction into the particular posts, right? So this particular tool is something that you can use. This is a tool called the ad library. So the importance of ad library is, now say, when you're running a particular ads, right? When you're running ads, it would be much easier if you are able to understand what your competitors are doing, right? Say Edulink decides to run a campaign to get leads to join, get, like, people to join in for the next MBA intake that is there. So it like, what ad library would help Edulink to do is to identify if ICBT is also running a similar kind of an ad, right? So then, if so, like, they are able to, we can just have a look at it, maybe ICBT campus. So whether there's any active, so then now these are the active ads that ICBT is running, right? So directly, like, from here, Edulink would be able to understand what the competition is doing, right? And if these are working, because the thing is, of course, it's good to come up with your own strategies and whatnot, but if something else is working out better for a competitor, why not, like, we also try it out and then like, improve on it. So then you don't need to really reinvent the wheel, right? So then this 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 ad library is a very good tool for you to start off with whenever you're thinking about running an ad campaign, right? So another tool that you can use is the Facebook's audience insights, right? So this is to, like, so you can get insights about the audiences that you are targeting. So then, like, we were talking about the target audiences, right? So selecting the target and targeting and the right audience. So then from here, you would be able to get an understanding about different audiences that they are on Facebook, right? So it can go into a, like, whether you want to do a general understanding, if you want to get it, that's possible. So then now I would say, I would search for Colombo. And in Colombo, whether I can say, like, people who's connected to my page or not as well. And then, like, maybe life event wise and who's in a long distance relationship, right? So now according to Facebook, like, there's an audience of 3.5, 3,500 to 4,000, like, people that who is in a long distance relationship from Sri Lanka. And then, like, the 77% of them are women and 23% of them are men, right? And we are also able to look at, like, what the pages, like, that they have liked the most, right? So then it seems like they are a lot into event planning, like, this particular page called Let's Party. So likewise, you are able to get a good insight, right? Audience insight from here. And, like, what the activities have been, how many pages that they have liked in the past 30 days, right? So then these sorts of understanding you are able to get in different countries, regions, and then connecting, like, people who are connected to your page. So from here you are able to get a very good audience insight before you run an ad. And then, like, you get the audience insight, and then you get the also the competitors insight, right? So what your competitors are doing in terms of those different ad strategies that you are planning to execute, right? So then based on this, you are able to get a good understanding before you start running that, right? So then of course, like, once these campaigns have properly, like, when you set it up based on those particular understanding, then the next thing is going into ads manager once again. And then based on the results, based on the different campaigns that you have done, you are able to look at what the results is, right? So the results can, like, really you are able to customize these columns into, like, a much greater extent in terms of, like, what the like, what the performance of these are, like, how the conversion rates have been, right? So you are able to really customize, dig deep, and see, like, what has actually happened in these particular ads that you have run, right? So so this is, like, that's the way that you can basically understand, like, how the particular ads have run. um and yeah, so, like, that is pretty much of the technical things that I want. So another tool, like, that I can take you all through is that we use is one called Adroll, right? So Adroll basically, like, what it does is, like, it's important, as I mentioned before, the conversion funnel is there, right? That is the people who are so for me to show you what the conversion funnel is. So the conversion funnel is basically where there are people so there are people, like, who like whom we target to get the awareness, and then, like, who are interested, and then who are considering, and then who have the intent, right, to purchase, and then who actually buy. And even after you buy also, like, you need to look at how these buyers can become repetitive buyers, and, like, also become sort of like brand ambassadors that would actively go out there and, like, refer your brand or the product into or service into, like, to others as well. So this is, like, this funnel you need to, like, this circle you need to keep on managing it, right? So you are able to, like, use tools like Adroll. It's actually free to start with as well. Where, say, abundant cart recovery, that is, like, say, someone who in your e-commerce platform, they have come to the e-commerce platform, they have added the products as well, but then they haven't checked out, right? So then that means those particular users are like, just one step away of putting the card in and then buying the product or the service, right? So for those guys, like, you are able to maybe run a separate ad set, right? Just to get the conversion, maybe offer a small discount, and then they would buy, right? So likewise, like, abundant cart record. So you are able to analyze those people using a tool like this, right? And then the retargeting. So retargeting, as I mentioned, like, that is how you are able to, I mean, you must have seen there is a thing called the the digital, like the user journey, right? So that is when you first time you look at an ad, you don't even like give, like you don't give any notice to it, right? You would just scroll past it, right? And then the same, but it would like subliminally it would just stick on your head, in the back of your mind somewhere, right? And then the next time you see it, okay, like maybe the same brand, but a slightly different ad, right? Which would create some better engagement with you. And then then the third time that you see it, you would actually go click on it just to like see what nonsense is this. You would just go into the website and then have like bit more information about it. And then the moment you go to the website, you get an email telling you visited like this particular page of ours. Like are you interested? We are able to offer you with a 20% off discount if you purchase now itself, right? Within 24 hours, right? Where you create that urgency also, right? So then, like these retargeting mechanisms can be used to like track that whole user journey, and like driving that person not only to buy but to become a repetitive buyer, and also to become a referrer that would like go out there and actively promote your brand without you even paying to that person, right? So that is like the user journey that we should be creating, right? So and another thing that's there is like is omni-channel marketing. Now the single channel marketing is long gone, right? I mean, because there's so much of competition is there in terms of different segments, and people are aware about so many things, right? So you need to utilize things like omni-channel marketing. So that is like say you look at one ad in Facebook, you may be seeing the second ad in LinkedIn, right? And like when you are browsing through Instagram, you see the story, and like with the swipe up only, you would actually go into the website, right? And even at the website, you go into like you get some information about it, right? And maybe through Pinterest, you see some pin like from them, right? Then again you go to the website from there, and then you almost go to the checkout, but you don't really check out. You do an abandoned cart, right? And then like maybe through Snapchat, like you see that once again, and that's the time where you actually purchase it, right? So likewise, you need to map that. Like that's where omni-channel marketing comes in, where you need to have multiple channels that your ads are like being like strategically placed with that final objective of the user making a purchase and become a repetitive buyer. So like that is in terms of creating customer loyalty, and so these sort of tools can be used where you can like get that. That's what you mean by ad roll also, right? So how you are going to like roll that like ad in a rolled way with a particular user, right? So this is another tool that I can recommend. So that is, those are the things basically like what I had planned to take you all through. So now if we can open up for the Q&A, I think that would be great. Thanks.
If anyone has questions, they can unmute themselves and ask, or drop in the chat box itself.
Any questions, guys?
Seems you have covered everything perfectly, that no questions are there.
Or maybe either everyone's understood everything or understood nothing. Right. So since there's no questions, shall we wrap things up from there, Chinta?
I'm okay to wrap it up. Can we wait another 5 minutes? I think one has a question.
Ah, yes. Ozzy, yes. What is the question?
So you can unmute yourself and ask the question, or else I'll unmute you.
I am old school. Please advise on how to initially open an FB account. So I think opening up an FB account is quite straightforward. Just go to facebook.com. From there, like, you are able to just like, put up your whatever the details that's there, and then like, create the profile. So from here, like, you are able to create the profile, and then going in, like, so if you want to create a page, so from here directly you are able to create a page as well. So that is for the business or the brand or the community or the public figure, but not so you are able to create from here. So just go to facebook.com, and then you are able to create that. Anything else? Glad that it's clear.
All right, can we get everyone to turn on their video so that we can take a snapshot of this event with everyone's video in it with a smiley or
Ayesha, you
happy
have a
face?
question? Yes, Ayesha. How can I get a payment gateway to my page? Um, so getting a payment gateway to your page, that is like, from directly from Facebook, you can't create, you can't connect the payment gateway, right? But rather it needs to link to your e-commerce platform, right? So that is like, so you're able to, um, say create an e-commerce platform using say a standard platform like Shopify, and then directly like, you are able to connect the payment gateway to like, to that e-commerce platform, right? And that particular product or the service, you are able to link it to Facebook, and like, run the particular ads to drive in there and then get the particular conversions. So that's what can be done. And how do I create a campaign for another country? So again, like, it's quite simple. So you go into ads manager. So from the ads manager, when you are creating the campaign, right? So you set whether it's traffic or what your objective is. Then you go to the next step, and then like, what as I showed you all before, and now I selected Colombo before in the targeting, right? So from here you are able to set the location without putting it as Sri Lanka. Say I want to target it for the UK. So if I say UK, United Kingdom. So I'm targeting for the whole of United Kingdom, and also like, you are able to set whether it's people living in this in or recently in this location, or else like, living in this location, recently in this location or traveling in this location. So you are able to actually be specific to that extent. When you are boosting a post, you can't actually do that, right? So then when you select that, then it would show like, what the, how many people we are targeting. There's 45 million people, and like, what your budgets are and different whatnot. And like, based on that, you are able to target it accordingly. So that's the way that, like, how to how you're doing a campaign to another country. I hope I've answered your question, Ayesha. Can you give some tips for an attractive creative promotion? So as I mentioned before, it is important. Like, I mean, now more and more, like Facebook is more and more, like people will be interacting more and more with video based content, right? So always try to, like, create content using video without just putting up a design based content, right? So another, like, tool that if you're just starting up, like, that you can use is a tool called Canva, right? So where you don't really necessarily need like, designing like tools or Photoshop or anything like that. Here there are, you are able to directly maybe create a video post from here. Like, there are standard templates are there. So from the different standard templates that are there, you are able to select those particular templates, and then like, put up whatever the message that you want to put it up, and directly you are able to create the content from here, right? But if you are more advanced than that, then of course you can use like an agency, or like, Premiere or After Effects, or like, whatever more advanced tool, and then create the content, right? But whatever the content that you are creating, make sure that, like, you create it with the absolute understanding about your target audience, right? So the if the, like, are you targeting for millennials, or are you targeting for like, say middle-aged people? So what would the question that should be asked is, like, what would appeal, what sort of content would appeal to this particular target audience, right? So based on that, like, create the content in a creative way that would get attention. So you always put yourself in the shoes of the person who would be seeing that, right? So you then ask the question, what would make you interested about this particular post or the ad when you see it in that particular person's shoes, right? So in that way, think about it, and then come up with the, in a creative way, come up with the post, right? But always try to use, like, say video based content. And like, now, as I showed you before as well, these augmented reality, virtual reality, like, things like that are picking up, right? So utilize those things also. Then hope call now option is not available without a foreign contact number. Are you referring to Ayesha? You want to unmute and ask that question, Ayesha? Ayesha? So what I wanted to ask was basically, are you trying to connect a local number when you are running a foreign campaign? Is that the case?
I think that was the question, Hiroshi, because let's say you run an ad in United Kingdom, would it allow for a Sri Lankan number to be appear in the ad itself, or that would be the question. So I think one workaround would be to have the WhatsApp, the business WhatsApp account.
Correct. So I think that should be the Achint. I think you need to unmute Ayesha. So we'll go to the next question. Is there a payment to advertise in Facebook? Yes, definitely there is payments. I mean, that's the whole point of advertising, right? So like, you're supposed to, when you're advertising on Facebook, it would give you, like, you need to set aside a budget for different campaigns, and then like, those ad payments would go through 4 different target audiences that you're running the ads to.
Irosha, there was a question. Can I link my YouTube channel to Facebook account?
Mm, linking to YouTube account, is it in terms of different posts that you're running, or how is it? So if it's for different posts, so then say that you are running, you're having content that you have uploaded in YouTube, right? Then of course, it's possible for you to share those particular content in Facebook and boost those particular ones, or else you are able to upload the particular video based content directly on Facebook as well. When we target an audience, how FB choose them? From details people given in the account to actual details like location. Mm, So, so this is this is where Facebook's understanding about us comes into play. I mean, Facebook is in the business of my understanding data, right? The user data. So, as much as possible, Facebook will be trying to get user data, right? Based on the interactions that are being done on Facebook, right? So then, so from that, Facebook has a very good understanding about the user base that is using Facebook, right? So based on that understanding and based on the objective, like us as a business, when we are advertising, based on the objectives that we are having for particular campaigns, it would match the interest and then behaviors, and then it would showcase that. So that would be the answer to your question, Ashen. I mean, actual details is so that also based on what people are putting up on Facebook, right? So whatever the details that Facebook can capture about the user, based on those information only, the ads would be showcased. How can I link my YouTube channel to Facebook account to promote it? I think, Selvan, that is not really necessary because YouTube has its own advertising, right? So you can use Google ads to run YouTube ads, right? But I don't think there's a necessity where you need to, there's no way that you can connect Facebook and YouTube as such, right? But rather you are able to post the content that's there on YouTube to Facebook, right? And the YouTube ad strategy is a separate ad strategy that's been managed by Google Ads. How can we capture the data audience of a campaign that we did? So that's based on the reports, right? So whatever the campaigns are there, so you are able to go to business manager, and then in the business manager, you go into so you go into reports. So from the reports, you are able to get whatever the variety of reports that's needed regarding different ads that you have run. How how well this particular ad has performed. So this is not a ad that has actually run, right? So based on the different ads that you have run, you are able to get the reports from there. Any tips on how to boost one post flyer without any additional boosting charges? No, it's not possible. You would be needing to be having an ad budget. Without an ad budget, you can't boost posts. It's not possible. Any other questions?
Osir had asked, Irosha, is there a payment to advertise in Facebook?
I answered that question. You need to definitely pay to Facebook in terms of when you are advertising. Anything else apart from that? I think that's about it. So we'll wrap things up from here, right, Ajita?
Yes, Irosha. So
Right.
let me take this moment to thank you, first of all, for taking this time and sparing your busy time for on the request of Edulink to give something back to the entrepreneurs. You as an entrepreneur also knew and know that how hard it is to go up as an entrepreneur. So first of all, thank you, Irosha, for taking the time and giving the knowledge that you gained over the years for our audiences today. And let me take again another minute to thank all of you, the entrepreneurs who are striving day by day to go up, for participating in this event and getting the knowledge of someone like Irosha and taking it, and hopefully you can apply it in your businesses and make your big businesses a success. So if there's no any questions, we'll wrap it up, and hope you have gone to the links in the chat and put your details to collect the certificate. I'll put the link again. I'll not end this video straight away. So go to that link, put your details in, collect the certificate, and register yourself for the next of the Do It Right series as well, because this is a continuing video series focused for entrepreneurs just like you. So with that, thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, everyone. It was thanks a lot, Edulink, for the opportunity to speak to all of y'all. I hope you all gained some good knowledge and understanding in terms of how Facebook marketing works and how digital strategy basically works. So I wish all of the entrepreneurs here all the very best. And yes, thank you very much. See you all.